Our channelstv.com has more information for you, and on youtube.com/channelsweb, you can watch our videos. You can also watch us on your mobile device via your browser or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows devices from their respective stores. Besides giving you access to news updates on the go, the Channels TV and Channels 24 app has an eyewitness feature that you can use to share pictures, videos or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the menu and then follow the instructions. Delegates to the Middle Belts Forum rally on restructuring, which held in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, have called for a referendum that will allow minority ethnic groups in northern Nigeria decide where they belong. Delivering what the forum referred to as the Makurdi Declaration, the former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Obadiah Mailafia, asked the federal government to relax the absolute power concentrated at the centre. The president of the forum, Mr. Bitrus Pogo, criticized the alleged political intolerance on the part of the federal government by denying leaders of Ahaneze, Afenifere and the South-South Forum a landing permit on their way to the Makurdi rally.
Restructuring Nigeria has been a major issue of discourse in the country's political space. The latest call is coming from a group, the Middle Belt Forum, who gathered at the IBB Square in Makurdi, Benue State capital. The arrival of the governors of Taraba and Benue State kickstarts the event. With the theme, Restructuring Nigeria and Reawakening the Position of the Middle Belt, the forum seeks for a referendum that will promote equity and justice.
The two proposed Middle Belt regions should comprise Western Middle Belt and Eastern Middle Belt. They should make out the 6 existing North-Central states, in addition to Southern Borno, Southern Kebbi, Southern Kaduna, and parts of Adamawa and Gombe. Through the process of the referendum, ethnic nationalities must be given the choice of which regions they would prefer to belong to.
The issue of cattle colonies is also of concern to the group, with the forum criticizing the subtle way in which the federal government has handled the issue.
Government's body language, through its actions or inactions, seem to suggest complicity at every instance. That message is a cold indifference to the fate of thousands of victims.
For the two governors, decentralizing the security architecture is key, especially with the killing of Nigerians in the Middle Belt.
I will at this point like to thank the Senate and the Federal House of Representatives for dusting the Constitution and now thinking of bringing back state police. And they should quickly also pass this law, because it will go a long way to stopping these continuous killings of innocent citizens.
A lot of blood of Middle Belters have flown, as they say. That blood is crying for justice, and the blood will continue to cry until we get justice.
The agitation for restructuring is gaining grounds by the day, and delegates here want Nigerians to hold the present administration accountable for reneging on its 2015 promise to return the country to the path of true federalism.
More inclusive capitalism, greater international cooperation and responsible democratic leadership can make our world a better one. Well, that's the message from the former U.S. President Barack Obama, who is this year's speaker at the Nelson Mandela Annual Lecture in South Africa. President Obama, that's the former president, praised the values for which the global icon is being celebrated and challenged the youth to ensure their world is a much better one. Our Johannesburg Bureau Chief Betty Divya reports.
It therefore gives me great pleasure to invite President Barack Obama to deliver the 6th...
President Cyril Ramaphosa introduced the much-loved guest speaker who walked onto the podium to a chant of "Yes, we can." Reflecting on where humanity is coming from to where it is now, President Obama says we live in strange and uncertain times.
We see it in the growth of state-sponsored propaganda. We see it in internet-driven fabrications. We see it in the blurring of lines between news and entertainment. We see the utter loss of shame among political leaders where they're caught in a lie and they just double down and they lie some more.
Reeling out a string of global challenges, he made a plea for more inclusive capitalism within and between nations to provide more dignity and sense of purpose for everyone, since we are all bound by the same humanity. And to the youth, he left a challenge.
So young people who are in the audience, who are listening, my message to you is simple. Keep believing. Keep marching. Keep building. Keep raising your voice. Every generation has the opportunity to remake the world.
Speaking earlier, Mandela's widow, Graça Machel, encouraged everyone not to just celebrate the global icon singly, since he is part of a big, rich tapestry, but also to embrace what he stood for. Talk over, the guest speaker couldn't resist a few steps to Thandiswa Mazwai's Get a Child. From the Wanderers Stadium in Johannesburg, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
Steps indeed. Now we cross over to Abuja now. Here's Ibrahim Adra. Ibrahim.
Hello, Ijoba. Good to see you. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari is asking the National Assembly to via 228.854 billion naira from the projects which Parliament inserted into the 2018 budget to finance the 2019 general elections. In a letter addressed to Senate President Bukola Saraki, President Buhari says the 2019 budget will cost 244.2 billion naira, and the funds which he is asking the National Assembly to via will cover a huge chunk of the cost for the 2019 elections as well as critical projects. Correspondent Linda Higbe reports.
President Muhammadu Buhari signed the 2018 budget on June 20th, 2018, but not without raising some concerns. Specifically, President Buhari criticized the National Assembly's introduction of 6,403 projects, amounting to 578 billion naira in the 2018 budget. He, however, said he would submit a supplementary budget to the National Assembly. The spokespersons of the two chambers explained that the adjustments and reductions in the locations, cost and numbers of projects approved were made to address geopolitical imbalances that came with the executive proposal.
We represent constituencies. We know the issues on ground. So when we are working on this budget, you need to work to ensure that every part of this country has fair share of the commonwealth of the nation.
But in a shocking move, President Buhari is asking the National Assembly to transfer funds from the projects the lawmakers inserted to cover the cost of the 2019 general elections. According to the President, the 2019 election will cost 242.445 billion naira, and he wants the National Assembly to transfer 164.1 billion to cover part of the election costs.
However, in light of the prevailing fiscal constraint, I'm proposing that the sum of 164,104,792,065 naira be provided for through variant or supplementation of the 2018 budget. Implementing a budget of 9.12 trillion for 2018 will be extremely challenging, and therefore I do not consider it expedient to increase to the size of the 2018 expenditure framework to fund these very important and critical expenditure items. Accordingly, I invite the distinguished Senate to consider, in the national interest, relocating some of the funds appropriated for the new projects which were inserted into the 2018 budget proposal.
In the letter written to the Senate, the proposal for the 2019 general elections includes: INEC is proposing the sum of 189.207 billion, Police 30.541 billion, Office of a National Security Advisor, 4.281 billion, and DSS, 12.213 billion naira. In addition, President Buhari is also requesting that the federal lawmakers transfer funds to reinstate some critical projects earlier proposed in the 2018 budget. Will the National Assembly accommodate President Buhari's request to transfer funds to finance a huge chunk of the 2019 general elections? And if Parliament declines, what will be President Buhari's response? Nigerians are waiting to see the outcome of the request made by the President to the lawmakers. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
Thanks indeed, Linda. Now to legal matters. Lawyer to the detained former National Security Advisor, retired Colonel Sambo Dasuki, has confirmed that the former NSA has fulfilled all the bail conditions imposed on him by the Federal High Court in Abuja on July the 2nd. Dasuki's lawyer, Mr. Ahmed Raji, told Channels Television judicial correspondent in a telephone chat that not only has the letter by the Deputy Chief Registrar of the Federal High Court confirming that Dasuki had fulfilled all the bail conditions been made available, it has also been presented to the Attorney General of the Federation and the Department of State Services, which is holding him in custody for further action on the directives of the court. Justice Ijoma Ojukwu of the Federal High Court in Abuja had on July the 2nd granted bail to Dasuki from the custody of the Department of State Services, where he had been detained for 2.5 years since December the 29th, 2015 for the 6th time. The trial judge granted the former NSA bail in the sum of 200 million naira with two sureties in like sum, and also ruled that the long and continued detention of the applicant since December 29, 2015 could not be justified. Governor Ifeanyi Okowa has made fresh commitments to develop infrastructure to the warring communities of Ugbejo and Alaja after both communities decided to give peace a chance. The governor made the promise during the inauguration of projects in Udu local government area of the state. Ugbejo and Alaja communities have been at loggerheads over land ownership, which has lasted for many years now.
For almost 10 years now, Alaja and Ugbejo communities in Delta State have been at each other's throats over boundary dispute, which has led to the loss of lives and property. Various attempts have been made by successive governments and security operatives to settle the clashes since 1995, with over 5 panels of inquiry set up, but to no avail. Now, it seems peace has finally returned. Governor Ifeanyi Okowa is in Udu, one of the local government areas to commission the reconstructed Ekete Main Road. The governor is promising to develop the two communities on the grounds that peace returns.
As soon as the rains come down, we will commence on doing the road from Alaja to Isaba. And by God's grace, I have also noted the request by Alaja people for internal roads in Alaja. We have noted it, and I believe that in 2019, something will be done in that regard.
And from Udu, the governor moves to Vie local government area to commission the Uboma Road, where he is received by a large crowd of supporters. It's an opportunity for the traditional ruler of Uvie to point out some of the infrastructure needs of his people.
As the heavy rain is here, there is urgent need to open up some drainages and waterways to avoid flooding in Uvie local government area. Refinery Road, Jakpa Road, water resources, gold spot areas are areas seriously affected.
Infrastructural development remains a foundation for economic progress, and for these communities, projects such as these will not only alleviate their suffering, but also boost their morale in the interest of peace.